Hi everybody, Taj with Harcourts Home Oregon Coast here. Today I've got Mark Jones with me, one of our real estate brokers, and we're going to be chatting about how to price your home in a shifting or a changing market, which is something that we've experienced over the last little bit here. So we're going to dive into the right things to do if you are getting ready to sell your home and the wrong things to do. So we'll get started with that. Simple question. Mark, if you are a listing client right now, what do you want to think about when it comes to pricing your home in this current market? And I guess before that, what do you think the current market is doing right now?
Well, the market's definitely been on a downtrend since the interest rates popped 2% up and almost overnight. When they hit about 7%, things slowed way down. Mm-hmm. And we had the combination of, I believe that a lot of properties were way overpriced here on the coast, and some of them were getting those overpriced listings.
Yeah, they were selling.
And we went from a market where there was multiple offers coming in. I mean, I sold a condo that went for $50,000 more than I thought the top price would be, and there were 14 offers, most of which were cash in 4 days.
That's wild.
It's not there now.
Yeah. So I would say we're in agreement that we're in a declining market. Debatable if we've reached the bottom or not. I think that you're starting to hear predictions that maybe we found the bottom. Maybe we're going to be a flat market. Maybe we're going to decline. Maybe we're going to incline. You can find the crystal balls everywhere. And I guess one tip is don't listen to any predictions. Real estate is very much what does the past show us, and let's try to think about the past as we get ready to potentially list a house for sale right now. So as a seller, knowing that there's been this shift, prices have come down. We can validate that with the previous history over the last 3 to 9 months. When you're thinking about pricing your home as a seller, I think the simple question is, should I price it high and hope to find that buyer who's willing to pay more? Or do I need to think about what happens if I price it high and I can't get it sold right away?
Yeah, I think that's always been the issue with listing prices. Most sellers want to get more money than what most buyers want to pay,
of course,
for a property. That's just the nature of the beast.
It is.
But I think in this market, a seller needs to be much more careful not to overvalue their home, and also to have it prepared to sell. Just a year ago to 6-7 months ago, a seller was able to put a house out that hadn't had any real maintenance done to it and just said, hey, that's the way it is. We got so many places on the market, everybody wants them. Yeah. And a lot of them were rewarded for bad behavior by the market.
Yeah, there was enough competition between buyers that they'd still sell it.
Oh, I sold several homes that I was appalled at how many repairs my buyers had to eat. And, we'd get a little bit of money off maybe, but not nearly enough to compensate for the condition of the home they were buying.
Yeah. What I've noticed in my most recent listings is if a home is priced right and ready to sell, there are still enough buyers out there that we're getting quick offers and even multiple offers. If a home is overpriced and not in condition ready to sell, those are the ones that are sitting on the market. And it's kind of this bifurcated market where it's either one or the other and not a lot of in between. Sellers are kind of now required to make sure the home's ready. And by home being ready, we're talking about organizing it, decluttering it, even considering staging the home. And I mean, always recommended to do a pre-listing inspection. Those are all really smart things to do that go into that having the home ready to sell. So a home that goes through that process and planning with us before going on the market has a far better chance to sell. And that's what Mark was saying about sellers didn't have to do that previously. Now they kind of do.
I totally agree with that. I think it makes all the difference in the world on marketing a home right now. these days more than ever, a seller has got to get their house in
So
as good a shape as possible. We've always tried to get there, and we've always suggested doing pre-listing inspections, and now I think it's just getting more and more critical.
I think we covered that, so let's go into, we covered getting the home ready, so I'll start a new question that says, okay, so with the home ready, then how do we decide on pricing? So I think we could pivot there. So I'll just pick up with that. Okay. So with the seller getting through the process before listing the home for sale, getting the home ready like we discussed, then the other aspect of it is that right pricing. So again, right now, declining market, the first thing you'd want to think about is if the market continues to decline, you don't want to price the home at X where the market is today, and then just within a week, you're overpriced for the market. That's possible in a market like this. So knowing that you have to have that factor, what goes into pricing the home right in this shifting market in your mind?
Well, I'd like to say I think just staying a little ahead of the trend, and I would look at very recent comps that are a year old or out of date.
Sure.
And they may be applicable, and they may, be something you want to look at, but I think we've got to let these sellers know that you're probably not going to get last year's prices for your home right now. And some of them aren't going to want to hear that. And we see it all the time. People are listing homes at higher prices than when they didn't sell last year.
Yeah.
And it's not as hot a market.
Right. So then they'll sit on the market.
So if they haven't done a tremendous amount of things to change that home for the positive, it's pretty unrealistic to slap an extra 50% on top of a listing price that didn't sell last year.
So if you start with that price a little high, which every listing presentation that you go into, 8 out of 10 times the seller wants to set a price and see if we can get it. And I would do the same thing if I was listing my house. I want to sell the house for the most money possible. When you think about the idea that the market is on the downtrend, you want to be ahead of it, like you said, then the idea that let's say instead of $400,000, you price it at $390 to be ahead of it, like we talked about. What goes into that factor when, as an agent, you are setting that price or recommending that price and trying to help the seller make their decision? What do you use as far as comps go? You mentioned comps a year ago are not good. So what kind of comps are good when you're trying to get that price right?
The closest possible in neighborhood, size, and condition. And you have to look at all those factors. And you know as well as I do, and all realtors, you can spend 30 minutes on a CMA and come up with a price.
Well, CMA, by the way, just in case you don't know, is a comparable market analysis. So that's where we'll look at all the houses that are comparable with the house that we're trying to sell and come up with that price based on an average with adjustments based on those other houses.
Yeah, I try to spend a lot more time than that and really dive deep into what actually sold that is as close to a comparable home as the one that they're listing. You need to look at what other people have their houses priced at, but that is definitely not the market price.
So you would say sold more important than active.
Oh, yes.
Although you need to know what your true direct competition is, the current active houses.
Yep.
But I've kind of always said this, is that a closed price is the actual price. A listed price is kind of that hope and a dream. You're hoping to get that price. And maybe you've done the right thing, priced it right, so you have a better chance than an overpriced home, but it's not reality. Reality is closed. So putting a lot more emphasis into the closed listings.